Boom. Oh, wait. There we are. Boom. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another LC podcast. I'm Peter. Today I got Jack, Jared, and Graydon in spirit form. How's it going, boys?
Good. Oh. I didn't realize that we had Graydon in spirit form.
Yeah, that caught me off as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened to Graydon this week, but here's his ghost.
He was killed after letting a unicycle tear his relationship apart, from what I understand.
It's really quite
killed
sad.
In a spontaneous unicycle accident.
It's always the worst when unicycle accidents ruin your relationship.
Mm-hmm. And then kill you.
And then kill you.
He was really young. I mean, can 2020 really get any worse after this news that our dear friend Graydon died in a spontaneous unicycle accident?
I don't think it can.
And now he's not talking.
Like, that's it.
It's done.
Wow.
He did actually die in...
He actually did. He died in real life. He's back.
Oh my god. Did we summon him?
Oh.
No, let's see.
My goodness.
His spirit's trying, but it's not going to get there.
It's not going to happen. Well, hey, what happened in the news this week, boys? There's probably some stuff.
At least two things. One thing that I saw this morning was that Among Us, the indie game that we were talking about, the party game, despite coming out in 2018, it's reached its peak player count with 1.5 simultaneous players. Wow.
1.5 simultaneous players.
1.5 million.
1.5 people.
1 million. They were stuck with just one person playing for a while, and they finally got that other half. What a moment.
Yeah. That must have been a really great moment for them.
Baby steps, right?
Well, because we're going to stream that, not this Thursday, because this Thursday is Call of Cthulhu, but the following Thursday, we will be streaming Among Us.
I think, yeah. I've seen some gameplay. It looks pretty fun, so I'm excited.
It does look
give
fun.
It a shot.
It's almost like a simplistic version of Terrace, it's Terrace Town, right? Or whatever, Gary's mod.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, it's a very generic like style of game. Mm-hmm. The kind of difference is, you're walking around and doing your chores and kind of investigating and then discussing. It reminds me a lot of, like the old party game Werewolf, or they made an online version called Town of Salem, which I liked to play a little bit, which I thought was pretty good. But this one is a little bit more free form, which I think is kind of cool. So yeah, it's just it is basically just a party game at the end of the day, but it seems pretty cool and fun. So yeah, I'm sure my laptop can probably run it. It doesn't look that demanding. So if we're all on Discord, all playing together, I'm sure that I can join in on that next Thursday.
I think when I was looking at it, it also said that it was able to be played both like together on Mac and PC. I think when I was looking at it, because I went and checked it out. It's like $5. It's so cheap, so inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it looked fun. Like I watched a bunch of trailers for it, and I think it'd be an entertaining game, especially with the way we are when we play games like that.
So.
Yeah. Vote Peter out every time.
Oh, please. Oh, that's all that's going to be. But
Peter did it.
I just gave it a Google. If you guys don't want to buy it, it's on mobile for free, and there's crossplay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So just an option out there. Because I knew the mobile version was free, but I assumed it was its own thing. But it's nice to know it's got crossplay.
So I could play it on my phone and like be in the Discord chat?
I guess.
That'd be kind of weird.
3-hour gaming session on your phone. I can't say I don't think I've ever done that.
No, I don't think I probably have.
Other than like
Stone, but
Pokemon Go too, maybe?
Oh yeah, Pokemon Go.
But I mean, after a while I just started playing Hearthstone on my computer. So even that doesn't really count. So anyways. Yeah, I'm excited. It looks pretty interesting. So, yeah.
Speaking of games that are,
really...
you want to get your last words out, Jack?
Well, I'm just really proud of them of reaching 1.5 players simultaneously. I think that really did a lot.
The half was on mobile, so because it's free, every player on mobile only counts as half a person.
Dang.
Gotcha.
That's a really fun party game. They just got 2 people for the first time.
The other one player was just Ninja for his millions of fans. That's really how it took off and got to the point where it is now.
So funny you mentioned Ninja, because that was my next topic. Ninja.
Oh, good.
Ninja is back on Twitch, baby. He signed a new exclusive deal, because I thought this was interesting, because when he left Twitch, they did him pretty dirty with his profile and stuff. I can't remember the exact details, but they changed his profile to lead it to other Twitch. Like, they're like, hey, what you're looking for isn't here anymore. Screw that guy. But here's some other big streamers. And now he's willing to sign back on with them. I was just super surprised to see that.
I just kind of thinking about that. I kind of laugh because, Peter, we were trying to get our old Twitch channel like changed or taken down or something like that. And every time, like, I never thought of it at the time when we were talking about it, but the way Twitch treats their like all-star streamers is kind of crappy. So why did we even think that we could possibly get the time of day for Twitch to help us?
Because I went to go like deal with the account, and it's like, hey, because you're an affiliate, you need to be offboarded. Contact us to start the process. I contacted them, nothing. Contacted them a week later saying, hello, I want to do this. Nothing. I contacted them a third time, being like, surely the Amazon bot company will respond to me at least once. I was disappointed.
To get an email response, you have to buy something from Amazon at the same time as emailing.
Link your Prime account for human contact.
You should call Amazon instead and be like, Twitch won't help me. Get mad at Twitch.
I had a package lost a few months ago, and I immediately like sent Amazon like, hey, you guys fucked up, and like, our mistake. Here's a full refund. And I was like, oh, why? Well, thank you, Amazon.
I ordered I've had this only happen twice. Amazon's usually really good. They give like the estimated day of arrival, and it's there on that day of arrival. Like, there's usually no issues with it. I've had 2 times where I've had issues with it. One is this chair that I'm sitting on. When I ordered it through them, it got like delayed like a week and a half or something. But they didn't have any tracking number with it. And then it happened again recently. I bought a new calendar because my calendar is getting to the point where, you know, when you use whiteboard marker and you can't really get it off just because that coating over the whiteboard is finally giving away. So I was getting a new whiteboard because they don't have any good ones when you go into places like Staples. You have to order online. So I might as well just order from a company that I was like, oh, they're really good with delivery days. I'll just go through them instead. Mistakes were made. I was supposed to get my calendar on Thursday, and now they're like, well, it should be here this week sometime. But if it's not there by next Friday, then contact us and we'll help you find your package. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Where's my package? They give a tracking number for Canada Post. I go put it in. Canada Post is like, this tracking number doesn't exist. And I was like, well, this is just fantastic. And yet it shipped on September 3rd. I was like, where did it go? What happened to my package? I want my calendar.
That's kind of similar to what happened to me a few months ago, because since COVID was, going around, I was like, I don't know if I want to go to Sentry Box to get my normal like RPG books. And I was like, I'll order the Call of Cthulhu rule books off Amazon. It's not what I would normally do, but it's what I'm going to do. Somehow my like shipping label fell off my Amazon package and got attached to someone else's package in Calgary. So I got his package. And I was like, this belongs to another man. So I'm like, hello, sir, I have your package. Do you have mine? He's like, nope. I was like, okay, I will drive to you and give you your package because I'm a nice guy. And then I talked to Amazon. They're like, okay, we'll send you a replacement for the thing that came from our warehouse. And then the other one was bought from a third-party seller. So we'll just give you a full refund. So not to fuck them over. I was like, wow, I have never actually expected Amazon to do the right thing. But here we are.
Amazon's really good about that.
It's because they have the money. That be a lesson.
let that be a lesson to you. Buy your tabletop role-playing books from your friendly local game store, not from Amazon, like I did.
Papa Jeff has enough money.
Papa Jeff has too much money.
He does have too much money.
I just figured.
Yeah.
I figured with something as like generic as a calendar, I could count on it being on time. Like my chair, because it was coming from overseas, I kind of figured, I get it. Like COVID hit, you have to make sure all the shipping products are safe to transport, right? Like you need to make like there's safety protocols. So I understood that. This is a fucking magnetic calendar. I just want my goddamn calendar so I can plan my school schedule.
No.
Fuck.
Well, see, like, and then on the flip side, like, where I work, the office is closed. So whenever I have to buy something for them, I have to get it shipped to my place. So I have to buy 30 boxes of face masks, 1,500 face masks. They arrived from Amazon within the same day of the order for free.
That's because they'll have that in the warehouse.
I was just laughing.
Guaranteed.
Like, the difference between like, ooh, sought out item, oh, average product.
I guess, eh?
The power.
Too much power.
It's just funny. Like it's interesting how things like, because Amazon, the chair is the first time that's ever happened. Any other time, I've had times where I've gotten the package early. Like they'll say, "Oh, it's coming this day," and all of a sudden it said it's been delivered to my house. I've never had one late until this chair, and now the calendar. I'm like, oh no, is he slipping up? Is Amazon becoming too much for them to handle? Can they no longer guarantee me the service? Disappointed.
I wonder if Ninja ever loses his packages.
I had probably for a while once he split from Twitch, but now it's all good again. Suddenly
it's all good.
They make his way back with 1-day shipping.
Strange that they didn't delete his channel after he basically gave them a big middle finger earlier in the year by swapping to Mixer.
Yeah, that's
because Twitch has not been known for their benevolence.
Twitch burns bridges.
I would not have blamed Twitch for that one. Honestly, it's like, yeah, your biggest streamer gave you a big middle finger, big thumbs down. I'd probably delete his channel.
I mean,
yeah. I feel like they're always, the big company's always going to look like the bad guy, right? Like no matter what they do, they're going to look like the bad guy unless the streamer did something right now that's discriminatory or anything like that. It does not matter. They will always be the bad guy. So it's you always have to look at some of these things from both perspectives, because sometimes the company's not the bad guy. Like a good example of that is like, again, with the Spider-Man thing, like Sony is all in their rights. Like Disney owns fucking everything. And for Sony to stand their ground and be like I know I hate it because I'm like, I want Spider-Man and I don't want to get a PlayStation kind of thing. But Sony has every right to stand by it and be like, no, this is our product. You guys can fuck right off, and you guys can give us more benefit from what you are using it for, not just like a small percentage of it. So, I mean, again, in that situation, everyone hated Sony. Like, it was the biggest talk. It's like, oh, Sony's a bunch of scumbags. It's like, no, not really. It's Disney who's being the scumbag in this situation. They just don't want to pay Sony more for the product that they're using. And
Disney has always been the scumbag.
Yeah.
Well, it's true, but in that specific fight, everyone was talking about Sony not being nice and being an ass, and even I got caught in that until I sat down and really looked at what's happening there. So I feel like in this Twitch incident with Ninja, I feel like, yes, we got to look at from Twitch perspective. If someone, basically says screw you, I'd remove their channel too. Like, why would you keep it up?
How much did Twitch sign for with Twitch?
How much did Ninja like just now?
Well, Twitch signs with Twitch every day. They make quite a bit of money together.
Yeah.
At least 1.5 viewers.
I was actually looking for that info. It's not out yet. What he got, so I'm curious because, if I was Ninja, if Mixer comes to my front door knocking and says, "Hey, we have $20 to $30 million for you," interested in streaming with us, I would be like, yeah, where do I sign? Where do I sign? Hey, let's go. Let's go. I don't need this place. Let's get the fuck out of here, man. Like, so
that's what I'm thinking, because it's the best of both worlds for Ninja. He signed with Mixer for a huge contract. They went under, went back to Twitch, and now is signed with Twitch.
I bet he didn't get much. It's probably because Twitch was like, we know you got the cash. You fucked us over. Come on.
Twitch is under no obligation to give him any money.
Yeah.
But did they? Did they like give him money?
We don't know.
I think my thinking is like, hey, don't do that again. Sign with us, and here's some money. Don't leave, baby.
I don't know. Seems like a flight risk giving somebody like that, more money. Yeah, unless you have like a pretty airtight contract written up.
Because I know Ninja streamed a couple times on YouTube in between leaving Mixer and going to Twitch. So I wonder if he was almost like, look what I can do over here. Twitch, does that make you want me?
I wonder. I mean, Twitch already has the streaming market in a stranglehold, basically. There's nothing that anybody can do to touch them in that regard. So why would Twitch even really care, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If Mixer's acquisition of all the big names didn't save them from going under, then maybe the big names don't mean as much as you think they do. Maybe Microsoft wasted a few $1 million on these people for no good reason.
Get wrecked, Microsoft.
Yeah, basically. Speaking of Microsoft, we got some prices for the next gen consoles this week, didn't we?
We do.
I actually have a few things to talk about on those ones to explain the price difference.
They were leaked, and then Microsoft said, "Screw it, here they are." I saw a couple days ago that an event that was supposed to happen next week was leaked as well. So people are saying that it was probably supposed to be released like sometime in the next couple of days, but they pushed it forward a week. Because I
think they were doing a similar launch event to Sony's doing on the 16th.
Correct.
Where they were also going to talk, because one of the biggest things people were looking at, because we didn't have a lot of like in-depth information on what was involved in the Series S when they first announced it. It was just kind of like, here's this thing, it's half the price, but and you can play. Or the only difference that they saw was, I believe, was the hard drive size, and there was no disk tray. Was like the initial only thing that they really announced for it. And everyone was like, because I think who is it? I was talking to someone about it, and they were like, oh, well, if that's all that's different, I'm definitely going to get the cheaper version, because why wouldn't you, right? Like, it was just missing a disk drive and a bit of hard drive space, because you have external hard drives. Who cares? You can get fucking hard drive space for days. But there is actually some decent, like the Series X is definitely performs at quite a bit a higher caliber than the Series S. Like the GPU power is 3 times more powerful on the Series X, which means that the game processing would be better for graphics. The RAM is there's 6 gigabytes more of RAM than there is in the Series S, and those gigabits perform at a higher per second rate than the Series S. So it's going to run faster. Like, load screens will be virtually non-existent for console games to run on a 16 gigabyte RAM. There's going to be virtually no load screens. Like, it's ridiculous. The cool thing that I did notice, I didn't know they had this, is Xbox has integrated an expandable storage section on the Series X and Series S, where you can take like a terabit expansion card and like actually plug it into your Xbox so that you can increase the console storage space, which is kind of neat, because I mean, it saves you having to get even more, especially with, let's face it, as games get bigger and better, they're going to require more hard drive space, as they consistently have. I was kind of laughing because I looked at my old PS2 stuff, and you had like 512 megabit save cards on there for games and stuff like that, and I was like, that seems absolutely ridiculous, because nothing is that small anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing that they were talking about is the performance target for like actual display natively on the Xbox is 4K, which that just means that naturally they can just run with better color palettes than they can on the Series S, because the Series S is native to 1440p. So a lot of that is like they basically upscale it, which you don't usually notice too much of a difference when you upscale, because they do that a lot for PCs, right? When you have a downgraded GPU, they'll upscale it to you can get software to upscale it to different games.
That's how the PS4 Pro works too. I know it does a lot of upscaling.
Yeah, so it's like it's unless you're like really snobby about it, you're not going to notice too much of a difference. The games are definitely going to run better on the Series X, though, because like they were talking about, I was reading some news on it. They're talking about how companies are actually getting mad at Xbox right now because they're having to create a game for two different versions of the Xbox, because they can't just be like, oh, let's just upscale to the Xbox performances, because a lot of the other game mechanics require higher performance. So it's interesting to hear that. Like, I'm curious how they're going to deal with that situation, but maybe Microsoft has a solution for it. But I did hear that they said the Series S is kind of causing issues for game developers right now, because they'd made it for the Xbox Series X, but now they got to somehow port it to a different console, essentially.
Well, what about the Xbox, like the base Xbox One? Because that's still supported for new games for up to 2 years.
Yeah, I feel like that might be where they start going, right? Because if it's too much work for companies, they're just going to be like, well, we'll just make it for the Xbox One and play it on the Xbox Series S, right? So I feel like it was more along the lines of having to make 3 versions of the game for a company rather than 2 versions like they do right now for PlayStation, where it'd be like PS5, PS4, or in this case it'd be Xbox Series X and Xbox One X. Now they have to do 3 different, unless they do exactly that. They just make the games for Xbox One and be like, here you go, Series S, you can play this game.
I have 2 comments about the storage. So the Series X is digital only, and they decide to cut the hard drive size in half.
Yeah. But you look at the size of the console. That's why.
I still like, they're just forcing you to buy a hard drive. And 2, so this expansion card. Okay, that's interesting. Do I have to buy an expansion card? Can I use my current hard drive? As long as I can do that, and just careful,
well, of course
Microsoft.
You can. Peter, of course you can use your current hard drive, as long as the thing has USB plugs, which I don't know if you've looked at most consoles, Peter, but most consoles have USB plugs.
I'm just saying.
You can plug in an external hard drive.
A little software patch could change that, Jared. If they wanted to, they could. They could make it so.
Yeah, but Peter, then you wouldn't buy more Microsoft hard drives.
Yeah, you're completely defeating the purpose here of what they're going for.
I saw the expandable storage. That's immediately what I thought. An additional premium.
Well, it's an additional option for people who don't want to buy a hard drive. It's essentially a hard drive.
It's a hard drive.
It keeps it cleaner. But it keeps it cleaner. You don't have to have something sitting out.
Yeah, and it's
gonna wait for Peter to have 1 to 2 games on his Xbox at a time because he refuses to buy an external hard drive.
I don't think I should have to.
I don't mind them having the expansion card. I think it's a neat addition. With regards to the Series S, honestly, I think they should have just done a Series X digital version and a Series X non-digital version, and then have it cut down by like $100 or something.
No, this is king. People were hyped about the price of that Series S. I think Microsoft killed it going as low as they can with that console. I think.
So then stop bitching about it, Peter.
No, I'm just saying that so they're gonna make money off it being cheap, and on the other side, by excluding a better hard drive, they can also make people buy that. That's double the price, double the money. It's such a big brain plays. I can barely fucking spot them through the clouds.
Does anyone else have issues when Peter argues stuff because he argues from both perspectives? It's like he has his own debate in his own head. He's like, it's genius, I fucking hate it.
I see both sides.
That's exactly it. In Peter's brain, he's like, I appreciate the business side of things, but also as a consumer, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Peter, you must sit there when you work for your company as like doing like any kind of marketing, and you just sit there and you're like, I fucking hate myself for this great idea. I honestly I thought it's not enough of a difference to me to make a big issue for them. Like if it was 1080p still instead of at least 1440, then you'd start having issues.
Oh well, I mean, fuck. Most people have 1080p's already, or 1080p TVs already. I don't think that's 1440. That's more of a PC thing, I think. Like what?
It is more of a PC screen because that's for a specific screen resolution.
Yeah.
It's one of those slightly longer screens, the ones that aren't just the standard, I guess 1080p, so 1080. It's maybe a couple inches longer than my current screen that I have right now than it is wide. I don't really. I think people like numbers, and when they see things that are better than a past number and they don't really understand what it is, it usually gets them super excited. It's like the whole 4K thing, right? And 8K. Your eyeball, your biological eyeball cannot see better than 1080p. That is your max quality your eyeball can see.
I don't know. I think
4K and 8K.
4K at least makes a little bit of a difference.
It's because of the colors they can use.
I
in
don't
4K.
think it's because of the colors.
Peter, I'm telling you the biology of the eyeball.
We'll have to agree
I'm telling you the biology of the eyeball.
We'll have to. My eyeballs are so advanced.
You have glasses.
Can we get that on a shirt? By the way, can we get people like numbers on a shirt?
Your eyeball can see 1080p, and that's your 20/20 vision. When you go into doing 4K, the color abilities, what you can do with shading and shadows is so much more than you can on 1080p. That is one of the biggest advantages of going into 4K and 8K. I can't wait for Peter to say something.
I have a request for you, Jared. I'm genuinely curious. I'm not being aggressive at all. This is just a conversation from my end. You're just fucking yelling at me. Okay. You should download Insects on Xbox. They developed it to show the difference between 4K and 1080p. It's just a free little video, essentially. You should download it because it does a very good job. When I first got the 4K TV, I was like, is it going to make a difference? I don't know. I needed a TV. I'm going to get 4K. And then I downloaded it. I was like, hey, look, I can see it. Thus leading me to my conclusion. My eyes are just biologically advanced.
No, you're not. You're not.
I could see it, Jared. I could see it. What does that mean? I'm like one of those
Peter,
underwater fishes that can see all the colors.
The point I'm trying to make here is that your eye can notice differences when you utilize higher quality things. I'm saying you won't be able, it's not a perceived eyeball thing. You know what? This is like arguing the wall. Peter doesn't know anything about biology and he fucking argues stuff he's out of his scope of practice.
I can see more clearly. The edges are more finely defined.
Peter, how do you think modders make other games better?
Modders?
So if you add shading and better coloring from an engine better than the other engine, you can make games seem like better quality games.
Jared.
How do you think they do upgrading mods on games? Like a good example would be Fallout 3. There are mods out there that you can make Fallout 3 look almost as good as a modern day Fallout 4, Fallout 76.
All right. So I was curious. I did a little bit of Googling. So, how many megapixels is the human eye? According to scientist and photographer Dr. Roger Clark, the resolution of the human eye is 576 megapixels. Like phone camera, like the iPhone 7 has 12 megapixels in its field of view.
Ooh.
To get a view that would be comparable to the human eye, you have to pack 576 million pixels into an area the size of your field of view. I don't think 1080p does that. I don't think.
But that's a color thing, Jack, because that's to do with cones in the eye. Again, that's your eye utilizing color. That's what I'm trying to explain to Peter. Is this difference you see is not a graphical difference, it's a color difference.
You're thinking of HDR, Jared. That's all colors.
Oh my god.
That's all colors. Jared, Peter, what are the two structures in the eyeball that allow you to see images? There's the white part of your eye and there's the black part of your eye.
There's cones and rods. What do cones do, Peter?
Oh, you can eat ice cream out of cones,
They hold
and
ice
I know
cream,
there's
yeah.
blaze rods in Minecraft.
So cones, Peter, allow you to see color. Rods allow you to see shades of black and white. So when they're talking about that in the eyeball, the more colors your eye can take in, the more colors that are given for your eye to take in, the better the image quality you're going to see.
We can only see so many colors, Jared. Come on.
And as long as the lens isn't fucked up. Glasses are lens thing. That's not a cones thing. So your lens is not working right, Peter.
Don't talk about my fucking lens publicly like that, okay?
So with regards to 4K and 8K, they allow a larger range of colors to be produced, creating a better image quality because your eyeball can take in more colors.
Jared, you should have this argument with the TV salesman.
Why should I buy this 4K TV?
I can't see! Like, your cones are bullshit, good sir! I don't know what they pay you, but you and your cones and rods can fuck off!
Oh, man.
I
should bring science up in here.
I can't believe I'm going to say it. I can't believe I'm going to say it. I think I might be on Peter's side with this one.
How does that even... I just explained how the eyeball creates a picture.
I only heard...
Yeah, but you didn't say anything of, like, substance that, like, necessarily disproves, like, any of the things that we're saying. You're just saying, like, hey, this is how eyes work. I'm like, okay,
No,
cool.
I was saying how... I literally explained, and I said this. I said they can't see it, they can perceive... Oh, I fucking give up. I'm done this conversation.
Jared, download the insects thing on the Xbox store, on your console, look at it, and then let me know what you think.
I didn't disagree that 4K is better than 1080p, Peter. I said how you perceive it. It's not an actual image thing. It's a fucking color thing.
So, Jared, TVs display images.
Do I have to literally describe how the eye action potential works for you, Peter?
I look at the TV and I receive images. Sometimes they're in HD, which is nice. Sometimes they're in 4K. That looks even better. It's true.
I give up. I could produce 18,000 peer-reviewed articles and Peter would still fucking disagree.
Weren't reviewed by this peer.
I don't think 18,000 peer-reviewed articles exist for this very particular topic of conversation. You might get a couple dozen.
Oh, you get more than that for the eyeball? It's really researched.
Yeah, but not like this very specific line of questioning.
No. All I'm saying is that the eye the more colors a basically megapixels, and the way Jack was describing it, that you can produce, the better the eye can perceive it, and the better the image seems. I
googled, is 4K real, and the answer seems to be yes.
I didn't say it's not real. Of course it's real. It's on the fucking TV, you idiot.
And as we all know, TV displays images.
Yeah. See how the dots connect?
Oh my god.
I don't understand where this like color argument is coming from, because we're talking about pixels on a screen. A colorblind person would still be able to tell the difference between a 1080p TV and a 4K TV.
Because you have rods.
Yes. But why did you even bring the color into it then?
Because what do you think rods, and they don't take in pixels. Pixels don't hit rods and cones and go, boom, we have an image.
I understand that, Jared. I understand that's not how the human eye works. I'm not talking about the human eye. I'm talking about a TV screen.
Yeah, but the TV screen...
I'm talking about science, Jared. We killed God, and we took his eyes, and we put them on a screen.
Yeah, but the middle person is the eye. Your brain doesn't just create an image because of TV. The eye processes it, and then it creates an image. Thus, the eye dictates how the image comes through to your brain.
You don't know how my big brain works.
I do!
I can see through your head, Jack. I can see your brain.
My
Jared,
brain radiates such raw psionic energy that I've actually shut down all other organs in my body, and I'm just kept alive by the pure malice and spite that comes through my occipital lobe at all times.
I'm glad my dumb comments can provoke such emotions. Jared, do you want to talk about something else you're passionate about?
No. I don't want to talk about anything.
Jared,
I'm sitting here quiet for the rest of this. Even areas that I still fucking hate.
I get what Jerry is saying between the definition and color and shadows, which definitely make a difference in the prettiness of a game. But then it also doesn't matter.
I don't know. Jared, the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake.
I don't want to buy it anymore. I'm done.
I don't know if you guys saw any footage of it, but I initially thought it was a remaster until Jared rightfully backhanded me and said it's a remake, not a remaster. Going back, I don't know. I still feel like it looks very early 2000s, which I don't know if that's what they're going for or what, but I never played the game. I've just heard only universally great things about it. Have you guys touched it at all?
No, literally never.
It looked like terrible when it first came out.
I didn't realize people had such reverence for it.
Apparently, like the time mechanics actually like super good, innovative for its time. I know Jared's played it, but sadly, I don't know. He's we killed him. We had Spirit graded initially. Now he's Spirit Jared. I don't know. I might check it out after it goes on sale for 50% off. We'll see. Another thing Jared was excited for, actually. I know I tried to look out for my friend Jared with all these topics, and he's left.
No.
Yeah, like Ubisoft announced Skull and Bones. It was like a pirate game years ago.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything since, but they talked about it a little bit. They essentially said, we're doing a big rework. You won't hear about it for years. I completely forgot about it. I know Jared was somewhat excited for it, so I wanted to see if he knew any more about it.
But what?
Skull and Bones? Do you remember that pirate game?
I wasn't that excited about it. I said it looked like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, so it would probably have good boat mechanics.
Are you putting words in Jared's mouth, Peter?
No, I would never do that. I would only put lights into his cones and rods. Or colors, sorry. No. All right. So last podcast we discussed Madden and how the internet was very mad at Madden. It got the lowest reviewed. It became the lowest reviewed game on Metacritic ever. What's happening this week? We're switching to UFC games. So UFC 4 came out 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks after it launched, they add in all these ads. So what everyone's saying is that they did that to, so they wouldn't get in trouble from reviewers. I'm going to share my screen and show you guys a quick example of what I'm talking about.
Oh, the screen sharing feature the quality is always so bad.
I know. This is only 30 seconds, so we're gonna
get a 4K screen sharing option for Discord.
That's some futuristic stuff. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, I can actually.
Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is 27 seconds. All of a sudden, as people are playing the game, they get these ads. So that's one for the boys. All the ads for the boys. But in this 27-second period, how many ads do you think we're going to
get? That's 2.
3 with the Pentagon.
Okay. 4.
And that's it. 4, and that's just how the game is forever now. That's just how every match is. Different ads like that. just out of nowhere, Ubisoft or EA is like, yeah, the game's been out for a little while. Let's pump this feature out.
Well, they're making it more realistic because those ads would be popping up if you're watching a UFC fight after getting it on pay-per-view for like $100 or whatever ridiculous price they charge to watch fights.
Keeping it authentic. And so
yeah.
Like the Wall Street Journal, like they looked into it with like EA like meetings and stuff, and the executives were mindful about the backlash from gamers, but wanted to see exactly what they could get away with. The actual quote is that they were mindful of a backlash, which means they knew people wouldn't like that. Wanted to see if they could get away with it. That upsets me. That makes me angry.
That is poor business choices. That's not good. That's a bunch of millionaires sitting in a boardroom and being like, let's see how far we can push these buttons and still make our bonus at the end of the year.
God, every week. But there's nothing that will stop them from doing this. Like,
no,
this is just fate. This is just gaming.
Here's the thing. With this happening with all the EA games, and it's basically universally accepted within the gaming community that indie developers are just doing it better in like so many ways, or smaller developers who actually give a shit are the way to go. Who is still buying these terrible fucking games? Like, it must just be.
There's a
lot of sales figures for these like terrible sports games.
I know a lot of people that are big sports guys and kind of gamers, and so that world collides, and they think, "Oh, sweet, the new Madden," and like that's the only game they play, and like every year.
I guess we see it from our perspective, where it's like we're actually, kind of in the industry a little bit, and are cognizant of the games we're playing and kind of everything around it. I guess these games are probably being marketed more towards the dude bros who want to play a couple of games a year. They want to play their Chell, they want to play their Madden, they want to play the new Call of Duty, and that's their 3 games for the year. That's probably a bigger demographic than we think it is.
Definitely. I mean, just for the fact that the jerseys are updated and like players who have been traded, like it's up to date. The teams are up to date. I think is the biggest seller for sports games.
But ever since these sports games have, come into the new console generation and they're getting like minor facelifts every year, they don't change all that much. They might add some new features, but at its core, it's the same game being re-released.
It could easily be a patch. Again. It could easily just be a big update. I
found that for NHL, I can't speak for any of the other sports games because I don't play a lot of them. Like I'll play the occasional Madden game here and there, but that's about it. The NHL games actually do a pretty good job for doing decent with like graphical updates with like a lot of the mechanics actually do get upgraded and it's decently noticeable. Maybe not every year, again, because Greg and I don't play every year. We play every other year. So maybe that's why we notice a difference. But they usually do a pretty good job. I mean, I might just be speaking from my perspective, but I think they do a good job with the NHL for that, for updates and stuff like that. But again, we buy odd number years. So this year coming up, Grid and I will most likely buy NHL again for 2021. But we won't buy for 2022.
Well, because I know you have EA Access, which is now going to Game Pass, so you still feel the need to buy the games, even though you get them a year after they're released.
Yeah, because the only reason I play them is to play with Graydon. So unless both of us have the game, it's not really a point in getting it. And if one of us buys the game, we both get it. I did, however, for the first time play 2020, which is the in-between between 19 and 21 that we don't usually play.
I do know you.
And I did notice a decent amount of a difference for that game. Like it looks better. The mechanics are better. The interfaces are better. They did do a decent enough to that game for me to say that, okay, if I did buy it, I wouldn't have been mad. It doesn't ever get good ratings because their ultimate team system that they use is never really good, and it's a money grab. Yeah, exactly. So it's like that's and for people who don't like, Greg and I play it to play NHL with each other. Like, I've never really ventured doing online games as much as a lot of people that play that game, like hardcore play that game. So, I mean, I don't really complain about those features, but if you look at any review for that game, usually it's something to do with the Ultimate Teams Hub being stupid, or they don't like something they added to the Ultimate Teams Hub. It's not usually, the Be a GM mode is shit, or the Be a Pro mode is shit, or something like that. It's usually just the online features that aren't super great. Like, for another good example would be like Greg and I trying to play online, and sometimes for like 3-on-3, for example, you can play online, but in between each match, you have to re-invite the person back into the lobby to play the next game. And it's kind of ridiculous because it takes, you basically play for 10 minutes and then take 10 minutes to invite someone back into your party, and then play for 10 minutes and then take 10 minutes to invite someone back into your party. So there's definitely updates they could do for that side of it, but besides that, I mean, NHL does a pretty decent job of updating their games through each year.
Like, that reminds me of, like, in the first week that Grounded came out, me and Eric tried to play it, and there wasn't a working invite system yet. So I would have to host a game, and then Eric could join, but I couldn't invite him to it. That's like super early access. Okay, a little bit odd, but I understand that. NHL, similar problems. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, there's definitely the sports games definitely lack stuff. Like, I'm not defending it entirely. There's definitely shit they need to fix on and do better when they upgrade the game to a new year. But I just think out of all the sports games that I've played from EA, that the NHL games usually are pretty okay when it comes to updating their actual game, not just copy and pasting the old game over top of and then adding a few new features.
And like we were saying, the sports audience is clearly happy with these games somehow. Like, just looking into like Madden stats, like last year's, they set records with more unique players and engagement throughout its lifetime. And now this Madden's already breaking those records with even more unique players just in the first week alone. So people are still buying these games at
I will say, I think one of the reasons people are buying them is because they're a game, like, there's a dedicated hardcore fan base behind them, but there's also sports games are usually the games that people who aren't big gamers buy, because it's a lot of people who are involved in sports that just are like, well, I'm not a big gamer, but man, I got to play some Chell. Like, if you talk to any kid that plays hockey, they've most likely played NHL on a console. If you talk to most football players, they've most likely played a football game on a console or something. So it's like, I feel like that's why those games constantly succeed, because those people aren't looking for the same things that the hardcore fan base are looking for and would be pissed over. Right? Like, they're just there to play the sport. They don't really give a shit about some of the side mechanics in it. They don't really necessarily need it to be a perfect game or whatever, but they're there just to play the game. Whereas the people who are big fan, like hardcore fans, and pay attention to what they do to the game and upgrade the game, or people who are, like Jack said, we're a little more involved in the industry than the general person would be. So we would notice things in games possibly that we would be like, okay, that's kind of cheat. Like, they kind of just, again, copied and pasted this game.
Totally.
I think that's why you see those games doing well all the time. Like, Greg and I play NHL, but we don't play NHL because it's some sort of fucking God's gift to gaming industry, right? Like, it's definitely not. There's issues, but I mean, we had the issue the other night we were playing where my goalie basically decided to do a full out sprawl when I dove to block Graydon's shot, and I literally pushed it through my own goalie's legs when it shouldn't really have happened. Like, Graydon didn't even take a shot yet. He just was skating forward with the puck. So it's just like, there's definitely issues. But yeah, I think those games will always do good just because of the amount of people that buy that game that aren't like gamers, quote unquote, for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. I tend to, base things. I think we all tend to base things on the bubble that we're in. So for that's where it is. Yeah.
I also kind of like look at things. I've started to notice this with me gaming more is Like graphics are good. Like I want them to at least meet the standard. Like they don't have to surpass. They don't have to be anything standout. I'd rather the game mechanics stand out than the graphics do, because at least then I'll still enjoy the game as I'm playing it, instead of constantly looking at. I think that's where the sports games almost get lost, is they're constantly trying to make the graphics look more realistic so the players look real, that they kind of neglect some of the game mechanics that they need to work on and make better.
Oddly enough, the sports games always look like garbage to me.
Yeah.
Like I always look at them and like, this looks like shit. Like I can go and play, The Witcher 3, which is like a 5-year-old game at this point, and it looks stunning still.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious to see where they'll go with it, especially since, I mean, Madden got caught with that whole thing that you brought up last time, Peter, with them having the logo, the old Madden logo, slip up in game.
Yeah.
As they were going through it, which is rough.
That's
on
rough,
their part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you will see. I mean, EA's, again, as long as people keep buying the game, why would they change what they're doing? It's easy money for them. We're in a time. I don't understand this. We're at a time where it's like you don't need, almost like, for the hardcore gamers you need quality, but for everyone else you almost don't even need to care about quality. You just need to pump out a game, whatever it is. So it's weird.
Well, I feel like we've reached a point where there's a quality standard amongst most games, unless it's like 8-bit or something.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Did any of you guys watch that documentary, that high score documentary yet?
Yeah, I watched like the first 4 episodes. I think I've got a few more.
They talk about it a lot there, where they see a lot bigger sales drops. Like they'll go through fluctuations, right? Where it's like, when Nintendo was there, it was Nintendo and then Atari, they all went through price fluctuations. I mean, Atari got hit hard when Nintendo came through with their consoles, but like I just, you see, and they talk about it all the time in almost every episode, where they're like, oh, games are peaking and then they dropped, and then games are peaking and they dropped. People just stopped playing them or stopped doing that. You don't really see that now. People just buy and play. Right? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, they'll bitch about the game. 100% they'll bitch about the game, but they'll still buy it and they'll still play it, which means you're basically feeding the monster that is game developers with, oh, we don't need a good quality game. So fuck this. Like, you occasionally see where a game doesn't actually perform well and no one buys it, or like very few people buy it, or compared to what their projected buys were. But like, you don't often see a group of fans actually boycott a game. Like, even there's some really ruthless fan bases out there. Like, even you look at Fallout 76, they still sold to a lot of the Fallout fan base. And you go to any page and everyone bitches about it. Or you look at some of the Pokemon, like, they're another good example where it's like, even if the game isn't anything great, they'll still buy it. It doesn't matter. It's another Pokemon.
Yeah, well, they're a bunch of stupid children.
Another
but
good
it's like,
point.
Call of Duty is the great one. Another good example of that, where it's, even if it's a shit game, they'll still buy it.
You've been talking a lot today, Jared.
I know. I'll shut up for the rest of it.
It's these passionate topics. Just gotta get him going, wind it up a little bit, and off he goes.
I think another big problem that I've noticed is that in any industry where you're selling something and it goes through sort of this peer review process, critics are a really powerful voice, and video game critics, which were historically important, the big outlets obviously suck. They're willing to, they're willing to take money from no one says it overtly, but you kind of know that they're getting some kickback from these big companies. It's like, yeah, sure, we'll give your game a 9 out of 10, even if it doesn't deserve it. And you start to see this inconsistent voice with critics. So you don't know, like, what to buy, what not to buy. Some things that are really good get shit on for no good reason. I always think about, like, the fucking dumb Kotaku and Polygon articles that are just trying to get those outrage clickbait things like Animal Crossing isn't as good as you think it is. Like, it's like the fucking game of the year for so many people because it came at the perfect time. It sold millions of copies. It's obviously a good fucking game. You know, shit like that. Or The Last of Us is an even better example, like how it got slammed. And then critics were actually like, no, it's pretty good. And then like some of the critics who were trying to appeal to, you know, the angry fan base took to their YouTube channels and were like, this game sucks. It's the worst game I've ever played. It's so inconsistent. And then like critics who are actually like, you know, respected in the community, like Dunkey is like, yeah, this is like game of the year material, you know, shit like that. So critics play an important part in the economics of a lot of different industries. I know because, you know, in my industry, wine critics, they're a very powerful economic force. So that holds true in like the movie industry and the video game industry. Like having something that's, you know, universally liked by critics is typically good, but the video game industry is moving in a direction where, you know, there's no trust for critics anymore. And if there is, then you'd never really know what way it's going to go. So it's strange to see that we're at such like a weird place in like the economics of it all with video games for the consumer, particularly.
It says something when like in my brain I can only trust like independent reviewers, like on YouTube, someone doing a YouTube video or something. It's like state-run review. It's like I don't know, man. It's just sad it's gone to where it is, but it's business, and that's what's bound to happen.
Like I said, when the only person I can trust to like give me a decent review of a video game is Dunkey, like that says something, you know.
Well, and it's again, unless there's a big enough pushback, it's not going to change. It's just going to keep going down that spiral. But people like playing video games, so there's not going to be a big enough pushback. It doesn't matter unless the gaming industry collectively decided to be like, fuck you guys, and just didn't buy something for an entire like say these next consoles, for example. Say they just decided, fuck you guys, we're not buying the new consoles until you guys start pushing better games or something like that. It's not going to change. They'll just keep pushing out shit, and they'll just do it, and they'll be like, oh, you buy it anyways, so why do I care what you actually think? Why do I care what you feel?
At the same time, there are good developers still putting out good high quality games that are worth playing. So you know, you can't ignore the good parts of the industry, and you know, also boycott the bad ones necessarily. It's kind of a zero-sum game. Either you're supporting the video game industry or you're not, kind of.
I also think that we also have to acknowledge too that we're older and we look for different things in games than we used to as well. Because this could have been happening a lot more in the past. Like it probably was. Like that's almost a guarantee it was happening a lot in the past. But and that's another thing with why games won't change that way, because parents trust the critics. Like if you're buying a game for your kid and you're looking at reviews, you're gonna look at reviews and see what they say. If they say it's a bad game, then you're probably not gonna buy it unless your kid's like literally jumping up and down, being like, I want this game. But I just don't think like, and unless people are more knowledgeable about the industry, it's not gonna change, and it's unfortunate because, like you said, there are good developers that get shit on. The movie industry is another good one because people base how good a movie is off its box office income, and yet that doesn't always mean that the movie is exceptional. It could just not have been advertised very well, or it might have come out and competed with another movie name that just has a big movie name, and it just didn't get the time of day to show how good it was. So I mean, I think I saw a comparison on one of them was talking about, and I don't mind these movies. I know that they're not the best movies in the world, but they were talking about one movie in comparison to the Star Wars movies. And the Star Wars movies made like 1.3 billion. Like Star Wars Rise of Skywalker made something at like 1.3 billion dollars, and this other movie made like 10. I think it was like half, like, I think, no, it was like 20 million or something like that. But they were talking, I was like looking at it, and apparently the movie was like phenomenal acting, phenomenal script, and it just didn't get the light of day. But people said it was a bad movie because it didn't have good box office sales. So it's also what you look at to see if a game's good. Like, if we base what games are good off of like how much they've sold, and then it's very skewed in one direction. Now you're looking at, well, who's a bigger company, not what's a better game.
Suddenly EA is the best.
Yeah, EA is number one. They make the best quality games of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where they go with this next generation. I'd be curious to see if there's a turning point or if it just keeps going in an upward scale.
I can't see any change.
I'd say unless one of the major critics decides to take a 180 and actually be like 100% honest with their reviews going forward, I agree with Peter. I don't think it's gonna.
We need the critique, the person from Ratatouille, that critique.
We need Anton Ego.
Yeah, that's him. Bring him back to the video game industry.
Bring him back. He was here once before. Bring him back. He reviewed the Ratatouille video game, and that was it. And he gave it 0 stars. Oh, man.
All right, guys. That's it. We're out of time. We actually went a little bit over.
Wow. Look at that.
Wow.
Well, if you guys enjoyed this podcast and all the different subjects we've talked about, feel free to let us know. Like the video. It helps us out and lets us know we're doing the right thing. If you want to catch more of us, we're live every Thursday and Sunday. We're a variety channel, so we do a bunch of different stuff. If you want to connect with us more, check out our Discord, check out the social media, all those good things. And otherwise, have a good Sunday, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.